Welcome to the Offer Accepted Show, a show for home buyers in a seller's market. If you're thinking about buying a home and you're listening to the news, you might be losing a little bit of your spark, but we're here to give you some good news. We're here to give you the tools you need to be successful in this market or any market. Today's episode is The Best Time to Buy is Now, and it always is. In just a moment, we're going to talk to Missy Buttram from HomeWire Realty and Chris Wenninger from Fairway Independent Mortgage, and learn a little bit more about why it's such a good time to buy. But before we get there, I want to thank HomeWire.com for sponsoring the show and bringing this information to you so that you have the opportunity to be successful, to get the home of your dreams, to get your forever home, and to get your offer accepted. HomeWire Realty is located right here in Wauwatosa, Wisconsin, and they have a whole bunch of agents that can help you get your offer accepted. Something that's very unique about HomeWire is their sister company is Sell 911, which gives you access to an inventory that doesn't hit the MLS market. HomeWire Realty is your secret weapon. So contact Missy or any of her agents at HomeWire.com and be sure to tell them you want to get your offer accepted. Before we hear from Missy and Chris, I want to talk to you a little bit about the current market conditions we're seeing out there. It's Tuesday, June 8th, and the good news is we saw 1,000 more listings hit the market in our area. That's a really good spike in the number of properties that are out there, and it's really leveling out the inventory to a healthy level. Another good sign is that the listing price went flat after 3 straight months of climbing. There are a couple of challenges in the market. The days on the market dropped significantly, so houses are selling quickly. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to get your house, it just means that you have to have everything in order if you want to be successful. We're going to give you those tools with Chris and a little bit about your mortgage and finance and get you access to some inventory with Missy in just a second. The sold to list ratio continues to climb, so that means that houses are selling for over list price. Again, this doesn't mean that you're not going to get your house, but you have to know how the market's working so that you can be competitive in this challenging market. During our market segment, we're going to use Freddie Mac as the baseline for where rates are. Today, as of June 8th, they're 2.99%. With that in mind, I wanted to do a little comparison of what the different rates over the past 3 years look like if you were to purchase a home. In the past 3 years, rates have varied from 5% down to 3%. We're going to use 3, 4, and 5% as an example of showing you how those rates affect your monthly payment and the total cost of all the payments over 30 years. So for a $300,000 house, at these different rates of 5, 4, and 3%, 3% is $120,000 less over the 30 years and $350 a month less. That's such a huge difference. That's why when we say the best time to buy is now, it's because rates are so low. This is one of those opportunities where you can lock into a much bigger home. $350 a month is a huge difference in your monthly payment and the amount of home that you can purchase. We're going to learn a little bit more about why the rates are the way they are from Chris in just a second, but first, let's talk to Missy and find out where the inventory is and how you can get your offer accepted. So I just gave you a whole bunch of numbers about how the market is doing and what the inventory is, what the rates are. And I gotta tell you, the best time for you to buy a home is now. The reason is because the deal, the house, that once in a lifetime opportunity is gonna happen when it happens, not when you want it to happen. So get prepared now. Talk to Chris. We're gonna check with her in a little bit about the interest rates and some of the things that are going on that are making mortgage rates very low right now. But the deals are out there, and all the things that you're hearing they just make good news. Good news does not make it to the news until the last 2 minutes. So go out, get in contact with Chris, get approved, connect with Missy, make sure that you have good representation. So when that house comes up, you are ready, you're prepared, you have all the people on your team set up so that you can be successful. We're going to give you the tools and tips to be successful in a seller's market, but it's going to be up to you to take the action, to get that team, to get the people around you to make it work. Missy, with everything that's going on, is it a good time to buy? Or I think, you know, when you turn on the news, it says it's a seller's market. Here's all the reasons why you shouldn't buy. Why is now a good time to buy?
It is a great time to buy. And I'm sure, as Chris discussed, interest rates are at an all-time low. What could happen in the future, I don't know, but the market tells you at some point those interest rates are going to go back up, and the house prices could stay where they're at or go higher, and then your whole, monthly payment is going to go up. So it is a great time to buy. Take advantage of those low interest rates. It might be a little intimidating with everyone saying it's a seller's market and there's a feeding frenzy, but that's what this show is about, is to help those people find a house, help buyers find a house and have the tools they need to find that house and get it.
And when we look at inventories, 1 month they're way down, and then the next month they're inflating. And I think it's because there's so many changes going on. The market is so dynamic that next month it could be completely different. So being prepared now is going to help you be successful 1 month, 2 months, 3 months down the road.
Right. Be ready for that house when it comes up.
The home buyer has the money set up. They've talked to Chris. They have their pre-approval. Everything's going. How are you going to help them get that house quickly?
Well, first of all, I'm going to get them access to getting the listings as soon as something is listed. So they can be one of the first people to get into that house, get in front of everyone else who's maybe checking Zillow or Trulia.
So having that representation is not only helping them in the offer part, in making sure that they're safe and protected, but also getting there first. And in a seller's market, that's so important because things are moving quick.
Yes, it could be available one day and not the second.
Right, and so you got to get in there right away. So this kind of reminds me of 2008. There's a bubble, there's houses were just flying all over the place and everybody was getting mortgages, and there's you could just walk in and say, hey, I make a lot of money, and the mortgage company would say, here, have all the money and have a couple houses while you're at it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that what we're in right now? Is that what's going on?
No, actually, a lot of people think we're in a bubble, but we are not. I get asked this probably at least once a week. We are not a bubble. What's different today versus 2008 is that lenders are lending to more qualified individuals. More people have a 700 or above credit score than what they lent to back in 2008. Well, what happened back in 2008, 2009, those supposedly qualified people didn't pay their mortgages, and we went into a foreclosure market. That's not what's happening today. Today, we have more qualified buyers. My opinion of why things are rising, just think about the lumber prices rising, building costs rising, things like that. But the interest rates are staying low, so houses are still affordable. I don't see us going into a bubble bursting at all.
Yeah, if the money is right, the buyer's money is good. The market is just, the house price of houses is just what it is. And there may have been, over the last few years, prices were underperforming. They were undervalued.
I agree.
And now they're coming to a more of a normalized level. It may seem like a lot, but if we were 20% too low, and now it's just normalizing, yeah, it may be right. So I think the most important thing is if you buy a house now and 10 years from now, you're not going to say, oh, God, I wish I would have got this house for $10,000 cheaper, because it doesn't matter.
No.
It doesn't. How does a homebuyer prepare for purchasing in this market?
Well, first of all, they're going to talk to someone like Chris, a lender, get their pre-approval in place. The worst thing to do is to take a buyer through your home, have them fall in love with it, and they don't have their pre-approval set up.
Got to have the money.
So have that ready, because every offer I put in, I need to have that pre-approval with. Mm-hmm. So that's the first step, is to have that. Next, just get out there and look at homes right away. If you are serious about getting that house, don't wait 5 days to go see it. Make time in your schedule to go see it as soon as you can.
So should they just go call the number on the sign if they get it, or how do they do it? You're saying go out and look for houses right away?
No, you're going to work with me
Okay.
or a buyer, as a buyer's agent.
Yeah.
And
so you need a buyer's agent. Don't go to the house. Okay.
Yes, because in this market, us buyer agents are putting our boxing gloves on, as I like to say. You need someone working for you in your best interest and helping you find those homes.
And we're going to go into this a little bit more in next week's episode when we talk about, the different steps that it's going to take for you to buy a home, and why having a buyer's agent, having that representation, having someone looking out for you in your money, in protecting you from the different things that can go wrong, and why that's so important. Missy, this was fantastic. I love this. How can somebody get a hold of you if they need a buyer's agent to go look for a home?
They can call me or text me at my phone number listed below, or they can email me directly.
The best time to buy is now. No matter when you're thinking of buying, the best time is now, because the deal, the opportunity, like we said earlier, is going to happen when it happens, not when you want it to happen. So what you need to do is understand the market, get your money in order, and make sure that you have all the pieces in place so that you can successfully buy a home today. And there's no one better to help us with our money than Chris Weniger from Fairway Independent Mortgage. And you're going to help us understand the market and things that are going on right now, because we created this show as a buyer's success guide in a seller's market. But what is this market right now, and what's going on?
Well, I'm looking forward to doing a deep dive as far as, how are interest rates, what goes into making them, what role does the Fed play. So I'm looking forward to this show.
Well, when we're talking about the market, you mentioned the rates. How are the rates set?
How are the rates set? They take a look at, they're determined by three forces. The first is the Fed Reserve, which sets the Fed funds rate. Now that's going to affect the short term and your variable interest rates. The second is investor demand for U.S. Treasury notes and bonds. Now that's going to affect your long-term and fixed interest rates. Now the third force is the banking industry. It offers loans and mortgages and can change interest rates depending upon the business needs.
You mentioned the Federal Reserve.
Mm-hmm.
What does the Federal Reserve, what is their role in this, and what do they play?
Great question. So the Federal Reserve, basically, it was to keep track of the monetary policy. It was created after the Great Depression, after the 1920s, to make sure we do not have another Great Depression.
Another 1920s. We talked a little bit about what the Fed, how they got started. What are they doing now? What is their role, and how do they shape the interest rates in the economy?
What they're doing right now, their latest role, while the U.S. economy showed signs of growth back in 2019, the major economies around the world began to slow down. This, combined with the escalating tensions between the U.S. and the trade partners, caused many U.S. companies to pull back on their spending and investments. In response, the Fed lowered the Fed funds rate 3 times and took other measures similar to quantitative easing to make it easier for businesses to borrow money and create jobs. Now, this created many opportunities. So as far as with the headwinds, meaning that the businesses were expanding, needed more workers, workers got paid, and guess what? Workers buy goods and services. It's a trickle-down effect.
Now that we understand what the Fed does, why is the Fed keeping the rates low, or what are they doing to the rates?
When you take a look at the Fed is keeping the interest rate low, the Fed wants to reduce the Fed funds rate and keep the short-term debt, like your credit card interest, it becomes cheaper. And you know what? You're spending less money on that debt. So you know what? You have more money in your budget so you can spend more, or buy a bigger house, or buy your first house. The Fed wants to keep the economy going, so therefore they want to keep the interest rates low. In additional to, guess what? If you have more money in your pocket, you're going to be spending more goods and services, and thus we have the trickle-down effect.
What other factors come into play when we're talking about the Fed and how they affect the market and the interest rates?
A lot of variables going on when it comes as far as for the market. They also take a look at inflation. They take a look at unemployment rate. They take a look at the economy growing, what's it doing. They take a look at the health of other countries, and also what is going on with the housing conditions.
What are some of the other indicators or factors we should watch out for?
I've been doing a lot of research on this, and this is very interesting. Take a look at the birth rate. There's an increasing number of people coming to the market called the millennial movement, as they call it. It's the trend, or as I should say, the market data shows an increasing size of the group of the 28 to 34-year-olds. They're coming to the market, which is one of the main reasons why there's limited inventory. It's the story of supply and demand. The demand is high, it creates a low supply. This could be influencing the real estate market this spring and beyond. 5 million millennials are set to turn 30 this year, and now that comprises the biggest segment of home buyers. Back in 2018, the millennial home ownership was at its record low, but there's evidence that is changing it, because if you look back 20 to 34 years ago, the birth rate was high. Guess what? These people are coming to the market now, and they're looking for housing.
This is so interesting because when I think of the market, I'm thinking of the pandemic and all these things. So it's not just those factors, it's the birth rate and it's all of these people coming to market. And that is, it was going to happen whether the pandemic happened or not.
Exactly. There's no way around it. This is why now is the best time to buy now. Rates are low. It's going to allow you to have more buying power as far as you're keeping your rate low. If the rates tick up a little bit, prices are going to go up. For example, at a $250,000 purchase price, the difference of 1% in interest rate is a difference of $134 per month in your monthly payment.
You talked about the Fed adjusting the interest rate, and they move it so that money is available. Is it? I've heard that it's falsely low. Are they buying mortgages right now, or what does that sound like?
From what we've been seeing, the Fed is keeping the interest rates low. They're buying up the bonds. And when they buy up the bonds, it keeps interest rates low. Reason being, they want the economy to get going. Because in essence, if you have more money in your pocket, guess what? You're spending more on goods and services. And therefore, employers are able to hire more, they're able to sell more, and therefore you have that trickle-down effect.
Is the Fed going to do this forever, or is this, is there an end in sight?
Oh, where is my crystal ball here, John?
Yeah, right?
But what we've been hearing later towards the fall, the Fed's going to kind of ease up the buying of the bonds, so therefore we might see a trickle up as far as for interest rates. And another big pressure that we're having is inflation. We have to have a good balance as far as for keeping inflation intact. So sooner or later, rates are going to start to tick up to ward off inflation.
Are the forecasts accurate? There's forecasts out there from Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Are those accurate forecasts of where the rates are going?
That's what we see right now. It's one of those things that kind of remains to be seen, but at the end of the day, rates can't stay low forever. Otherwise, we're going to have major inflationary pressure on the market as far as for everything that we purchase. So as it sits right now, that they're saying that the rates are going to start to tick up over the next couple months, probably later towards fall. But that remains to be seen. That's why you need to watch this show to keep on top of the market.
And if you save $10,000 now or $20,000 now, in 10 years, that's really not going to make a difference, is it?
Not at all, because when you take a look at your purchasing power, you're buying your now as far as for you're getting into a low payment, and chances are it's going to be a fixed rate, so you're going to have that for a long period of time.
The best time to buy is now. Thank you so much, Chris.
Thank you, John, for having me on. I look forward to a future show.
Yeah, it's going to be great. Next week, we're going to talk about the basics of buying a home. Buyer's Guide 101. Chris, you're going to walk us through the process step by step. I'm looking forward to it.
Step by step. It'll be great.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was a fantastic bit of knowledge. I never knew the housing inventory was affected by the millennials. I thought it was all the other things that were happening. It is supply and demand. In the show notes, I'm going to put everybody's contact information. So if you'd like to talk to Chris or Missy, get your budget in order, have access to a different inventory that's not available out there, give them a call, get in contact with them, get your money in order, and get your offer accepted. These two are going to give you a significant buyer's advantage. Next week, we have an exciting episode. It's Real Estate 101. And that's all of the steps that go from thinking about buying a house to getting the keys for your new home. In this episode, we're going to talk about all the steps you need to take, give you all the tools, and everything you need so that you can get that forever home, that you can get that dream house, and that you can get your offer accepted. So thank you so much for joining us on the Offer Accepted Show. Join us every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. We're just so honored it, and I really appreciate that you're here. Get your money in order, get good representation, and get your offer accepted. See you next week.